Oh Christmas tree, thy leaves are so unchanging. Oh Christmas tree, thy leaves are so unchanging.
Ho, ho, ho! Merry Christmas, everyone! Welcome to my Christmas movie marathon. This is going to be Home Alone 2 Lost in New York. Alright. This is supposed to be a year. It came out 2 years after Home Alone 1. And I really like this movie too. It's not as good as the first one, but the whatchamacallem, the traps are much more funny. So this time, they're all going on vacation. This time Kevin didn't miss the flight. This time he went on the wrong flight. Yeah, so he didn't miss a flight, but he went on the wrong one. And the funny thing is, he puts batteries in his tape recorder. Excuse me. And then he notices that he was following. He thought he was following his dad, who was in a brown jacket, which was really funny. So then, we're on the wrong flight. So they're supposed to go to Miami, which he still has his ticket to. But the funny thing is, when the movie starts, you see Escape the Wet Bandits, something like that. But then they started calling themselves the Sticky Bandits. And then Harry and Marv went. Harry's like, "You smell that? Yeah, it's fish. It's freedom." "No, it's fish. It's freedom." "Okay, it's freedom. And it's fish." Because they were in a fish truck or something. So his family's in Florida while he's in New York, and then they found out. He asked, What city is that?" "New York." "Yikes, I did it again. Are you okay?" "I'll be fine." He said, I remember in the first one, he's like, "I made my family disappear," or something like that, and he started raising up his eyebrows like this, and he's like, "Family's in Florida, I'm in New York." "Family's in Florida, I'm in New York." Yeah, he started doing that again. And what's funny is, they're like, "Give this to Kevin," and some people didn't want to give it to him, and they're like, "Give it to Kevin, give it to Kevin, give it to Kevin." And then the guy who played his cousin is actually Macaulay Culkin's brother in real life, I think. And he said, "Here you go, Kevin. Kevin's not here. Kevin's not here. Kevin's not here. Kevin's not here. Kevin's not here." "What? Kevin!" And his mom fell backwards, and then Kevin called a hotel. To the Plaza Hotel. This is the funny part. Tell him that he wants all that good stuff in a little refrigerator with a key. He said, "You need a credit card." "Credit card? You got it." So he took his credit card. He didn't have the wallet. The wallet was in the bag. So Kevin had the credit card and everything. Went around and spent all the money he had, you know. Took money, went around, spent it. And then one day he got a limousine and a pizza. But the funny thing was, they're all trying to, so he started watching that Gangster Johnny thing. Again with that guy who chased off that pizza guy and Marv at one point in the first movie. So, he's gonna use it again later. But then, he went outside the next day because one housekeeping guy came in who was what was that guy's name? Tim Curry, who I actually really like. He was in Charlie's Angels, this movie, and he was also in Stephen King's It. He was the killer clown. And then they went to the next movie, or they went to go. So it's at nighttime. He goes housekeeping, and he used a blow up clown. And he went, "Get out of here, you nosy little pervert! I'm gonna slap you silly." And then he ran off. He ran off because Kevin did that to his grandpa or his uncle. He just listened to that song We Really Know Who Can Do the Cougar, and then he went, "Get out of here, you nosy little pervert! I'm gonna slap you silly." So that was the beginning of the movie. So he said that to the housekeeping guy, and then the housekeeping guy said, because he faked his dad being there, and said, "I don't think you'll see him for the rest of our trip." And then he found out that their credit card was stolen, but before that he said there was a limousine and a pizza, and he said, Rob Schneider, who's in a lot of Adam Sandler movies, who I do like Rob Schneider. He said, "Mr. McAllister, here's your very own cheese pizza." And he smiled, and then he went, "Hello, hello," to the limousine driver. "You know any good toy stores?" And he said, "Yes, sir." And then he went, "Here you are, sir. Duncan's Toy Chest." And he said, "Merry Christmas, Kevin." That's what Kevin said. Then he went around and he bought something. And then he gave money to Mr. Duncan. And then Mr. Duncan gave him the turtle doves. This is a really great moment because you keep a turtle dove and you give the other one to a special friend of yours. As long as you keep it, you'll be friends forever. And Kevin was a little afraid of this bird lady at the beginning, but I'll get to that in a minute. He ran off screaming. And then Harry and Marv met in the road, or Harry accidentally bumped into Kevin. He said, "Thought I saw something." Then he said, then they snuck into Duncan's Toy Chest because they want to rob that place. But what Duncan does is he brings the money to the orphanage. So they were hiding in their houses, and then they went out, and he said, "Alright, where to next?" And I said, "Well, you promised you'd take me to the Central Park Zoo." And then Harry looks over and says, "Hey, look who it is, Marv. Come on, let's get him." And he said, "Hi! Hiya, pal." And he went, "Huh?" And he dropped all of his stuff, and he started to scream. He went, "Help!" And he ran for his life, and then he took like beads and broke them up and made them slip and fall. And then he said, "You gotta help me," to I forgot what that guy's name was, the Tim Curry guy. Hold on, sorry for the inconvenience. But yeah, he said, "You gotta help me. There's two guys after me." He said, "What's wrong?" "Store wouldn't take your stolen credit card." Let's see what the police have to say about this, huh? Yeah, Tim Curry was good in this movie as well. Oops. Tim Curry was the concierge. I think that's his name. And what he did was he got people to chase after Kevin, like the people who were helping him out at the hotel, like Bellman, who was called Cedric, I think. And then there was another lady, I forgot what her name was. Maybe Dana Avey. So they all chased him. It was him, Rob Schneider, who was Cedric Bellman or something like that, and then someone else, and then two officers. And then, this is the funny part, because he knocks and he says, hold it right there, or something like that. This is the concierge, sir. And Kevin's so good at this, because he would always fast forward and play whenever he was going to talk, like what he did with the pizza man, and with what. Yeah. And then he says, you're here. This is the concierge, sir. I know it was you. I could smell you getting off the elevator. You were here too last night, wasn't you? Yes, sir, I was. You was here, and you were smooching with my brother, and you went, I think you're mistaken. And he said, don't give me that. You've been smooching with everyone. Little mole with the angry leg, chicks, bony lab, Clip or something like that. And there was a guy out there named Clip, and he went, no. And Rob Schneider shook his head in disgust, and he said, it's a lie. And he said, that could go on forever, baby. And he said, excuse me, sir, but I'm afraid you're mistaken. See, we're looking for a young man. Okay. I believe you, but my Tammy gun don't, or something like that. Get on your knees and tell me you love me. On my knees. I love you. And Kevin started to laugh, and he said, you're going to have to do better than that. I love you. And he said something, and he said, I'm going to get you to count a tree to get your something out of my door. 1, 2, and he started laughing, and he said, hey, Merry Christmas, you filthy animal, and a Happy New Year. And he said, stay in your rooms, this is an emergency, there's an insane guest with a gun. That's the funny part. There's an insane guest with a gun. And then Kevin ran outside, he ran into Harry and Marvin. They took him, and he said, come to Papa. He said, wrong state to Miami. What'd you do? Get on the wrong train sport? Or get on the wrong plane sport? You won't be needing this. Then they tore it up. Then he recorded whatever they were saying. And then saying they would kill him for revenge of what he did to them. And then this one is still a classic because it's funny. The sequels aren't always good, or sequels aren't always better, but sometimes they can be, like with the Harry Potter and the Batman stuff, you know? Okay, so they run off. Kevin goes up to, Kevin is afraid, so he grabbed a woman's butt. And then Marv went, well, hello, because she did something to him earlier, and he hit on her, and she slapped him or did something, and then she punched him in the face, and she went, he did it, and she went, oh! And Harry went, did what? Then she punched him, and he went, oh! Or, oh! And then Kevin ran off, but then they ran to the Central Park Zoo, but they couldn't find him, and then he ran into the bird lady again, and then, well, they told him that he was going to rob Duncan's toy, that they were going to rob Duncan's toy chest. And then the next day, and then he ran into that that bird lady, who was played by Brenda Fricker, who's from Dublin, Ireland. She won an Oscar. Something about my left foot. The story of Christy Brown. I remember Stewie singing something about my left foot. Then Kevin was screaming, but then she set him free because he was trapped. And then he said, do you think I'm weird? And she said no. And then she took him in to get some hot chocolate, and she told her that one man who she loved fell out of love with her, and that broke her heart. And then it's like a similar story with what happened to that shovel guy in the previous movie. Yeah, I remember one. One about that shovel guy, going off topic, was they were looking at him, and then he looked up, and then they covered the shoved the curtains out. So he wouldn't. So they stopped looking at him. And he just looked at them in shock or something. And then there was earlier, later on, he ran off and he waved at a kid in Duncan's at the hospital. And then he heard Mr. Duncan in his memory saying that Mr. Duncan would donate everything to the hospital. And then he heard Marv's voice saying that they were going to steal it. And he said, can't mess with kids on Christmas. So he set up traps in his own house, and then he took pictures of them and then threw a brick inside or a stone inside of there. And broke down the door. Or broken through Duncan's toy chest, but threw a stone inside the whatchamacallit. What's it called? The window. So then he set up traps everywhere in this house. Everywhere. Yes, and this time was a little bit more extreme. The funniest trap with Harry is Harry gets his head burned with a blowtorch again. He didn't even realize it. And then he tried to get a sink. And then he saw a toilet. And this is where it gets funny. It's full of gasoline, so it blows up. And then the funny part, Harry said, I'm gonna murder that kid. And then that's what Marv said. I mean, I'm not sure if I contradicted myself there, if I said Harry or Marv. Sorry for that. So Marv broke his cracked at one part and then went, and then laid down and he said, wow, what a home. And then later he started grabbing this thing that made him start to turn skeleton. Like, that was the funniest. These traps were way more funnier than in the first one, but still they were funny. Because he's like, when he's turning skeleton, he's just like, and then he finally got out. And then next, he ran off. Kevin was running off. Give up? You guys have enough pain? Never! And then he went, hey, you didn't lose any teeth. Hey, why don't you guys try the stairs? And he went, wait, don't you remember what happened last year? No. Watch this. Let's get him. And he started just fake walking. And he went, he punched me right in my mouth, Marv. Don't worry, Harry. I'll get him. Ow! Right in the schnoz! And he went, come on, let's go. 3. And they went, oops, or whoops. And they got knocked down. And they said, that's 3. Because first they went, that's 1, that's 2. That's 3. No, that's 4. And then Marv set up his little stairway again. They said, solid as a rock. Like a rock, huh, Marv? And then he went, I'm down here, you horse's ass. Why don't you see if you can get me? And then Marv went, suck brick, kid! This part I left out because here comes Kevin was dropping bricks on Marv, and then he tried to hit Harry and went, no, throws bricks at me and gets away with it. And then they ran away. Kevin ran, and then they were catching up to him, but then he ran. Or I think that he said Merry Christmas because he poured gasoline or Vaseline on like a rope, and then he burned it. And then they ran off, or they fell, and then they followed Kevin, and then Kevin slept on ice, and went, my, how the tables have turned. That's what Marv said, and then Harry said, how do you like the ice, kid? And then they said, let's go for a little stroll in the park. And he said, you know, I never made it to 6th grade, and it doesn't look like you're gonna either. That's the way I think he said it, or either. And he pulled out a gun, and then the bird lady went, let him go. Kevin, run! And he went, shoot her! Shoot her! Shoot her! I'm trying to shoot her! And then they threw bird food on her, and it started, or bird food on him, and it started pecking at them. and then they shot off, and then they arrested them. And Kevin's family went to Miami, and they said it wasn't raining that bad on our honeymoon. Then they finally found out. Their favorite, his aunt and uncle were there, but that was the house that he had them destroy or something, that he destroyed when they were renovating it. But at the end, he was their favorite nephew. They were in Paris, I think, which is where they went in the first movie for a little bit. In the second movie, he's near a Christmas tree because he said, "How can you have Christmas without a Christmas tree?" Which I agree, you can't. And then Buzz went, if Kevin hadn't screwed up in the next place again, then we wouldn't be in this nice truck full of presents. So he said, so I think it only fair that Kevin gets to open up the first present. And it was from Mr. Duncan, actually. And he said, he wrote him a note about the stone. And he said, thanks for the turtle doves. And he went, turtle doves. And he went, oh. And then he saw the turtle doves on the Christmas tree. This was a touching moment. It almost had me in tears because he walked off with the turtle dove and gave it to the bird lady, and she said, "What's this?" And she said, "It's a turtle dove. If you hold on to it, we'll be friends forever." Something like that. And she went, "Oh, Kevin, thank you." See, that's the real part that touches hearts. See, that was actually really, really a nice moment that actually got me choked up in the tears before. I mean, who doesn't cry at touching moments sometimes because it's happy? Yeah, you know. And then he ran on, or there's one more funny part. He went, "Mr. McAllister's room service bill, sir. Merry Christmas." He went, "Oh," because he gave him gum. Buzz did, and then that was the Rob Schneider character, and Kevin had handed him gum earlier. And then he went, "Nice family, yeah." And then he went, "Merry Christmas indeed." "Oh, Dad, Kevin, you spent $900 blah 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 dollars on room service." Yeah. This is a classic. Also, it's funny. The beginning, Kevin kind of was getting humiliated by Buzz, and he pushed him and kind of messed up the Christmas concert. But that's all I have to say for this movie. It's a good sequel. The next two I don't count as sequels because Macaulay Culkin's not in them. So stay up to date and subscribe. Stay tuned for some more Christmas reviews. Hopefully I get to about 15 this year or more. Alright, bye. Peace. Enjoy. Bye.